Details are emerging tonight about the president's new strategy for Iraq. The president plans to unveil his strategy in a primetime speech tomorrow night. Tonight, a senior defense official says a first wave of additional U.S. troops will go into Iraq before the end of the month. And up to 20,000 troops will be put on alert and be prepared to deploy. Moving first would be the 2nd Brigade, 82nd Airborne Division, which is in Kuwait and poised to deploy quickly. A new USA Today Gallup survey shows 61% of Americans do not support a troop increase. News 2's contributing political analyst Steve Gill joins us live from Capitol Hill here in Tennessee tonight. Steve, my military sources, I know folks you've talked to, have been talking about this likely involving Fort Campbell. This story's been leaking out of Washington like a sieve, so it really should not be a big surprise.
Well, and we should always be a bit cautious. What gets leaked out often is not what the final story is. So I think, frankly, we ought to wait and see what the president says. I do think it's important that the president lays out exactly what these added troops are expected to do, what they're expected to accomplish in detail. I think he's just putting more people over there without a very detailed plan for American voters to get a grasp on, to understand. I think it could be met with some pretty good opposition on Capitol Hill.
Locally, where you are there at the Tennessee State Capitol, a huge story. The 36-year run of Lieutenant Governor John Wilder came to an end today when Democrat Rosalind Kurita voted for the Republican candidate, Ron Ramsey.
Yeah, it was an historic day here. For the first time since 1971, Tennessee will have a new lieutenant governor. For the first time since Reconstruction, Tennessee will have a Republican lieutenant governor. And there was, frankly, sort of a smug confidence that entered the room here at the Capitol when Jerry Cooper, who was expected to either vote no or vote against John Wilder, voted yes as they were doing a voice roll call vote. Then when Rosalind Kurita said Ramsey instead of Wilder, literally you had Jim Kyle, a Democrat senator from Memphis, turn to her and say, "What?" She repeated it, and then he basically just gave her a stare down as she stuck to her Ramsey vote, and at that point, the reign of Wilder was over.
Steve, as you know, Republicans control the Senate up on Capitol Hill. Now they have a Republican lieutenant governor. What will this mean for the agenda of the Democratic Bredesen administration?
Well, I think it means that both the Democratic Bredesen administration as well as the Democrat-controlled House now has to deal with a Republican majority in the state Senate, a Republican majority that can actually now hold together the votes to get things done. You'll have Republicans chairing most, I think not all, but most of the state Senate committees. Clearly, the key committees like the Finance Committee will be in Republican hands, which means that both House Speaker Jimmy Nafee and Governor Phil Bredesen will have to sit at the table and negotiate legislation with Ron Ramsey and his lieutenants.
Steve, as always, we appreciate your insight. Steve Gill on Capitol Hill. Thanks, Steve.